most of us walk around this world compensating for a lack of safety inside of our own being and our own body because of those life experiences we've had. And you know, I'm watching you, and it's like you're already kind of doing some things with your body.
Yeah, I have a little thespian in me. You know,
right?
I'm semaphoring a little bit.
There's a hadith, there's a narration that talks about how the Prophet ﷺ, when he spoke with a person, he fully turned and faced all the way towards that person.
إذا التفت معا. He faces you with his complete self.
If we can come down below the neck and start to live inside of our own skins, that people can find God again. That young people in our community that have left the deen, left Islam, left God because of shame, because of fear, can return to a primordial knowing of God's mercy.
You make a very, very good point.
I'm a devotion to the Most High and a commitment to holding the center line of my power and my wisdom for the sake of ushering me and my people into the next chapter of our healing.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the gracious, the merciful. I'm Ubaydullah Evans, and today I'm joined by Iman Boundaoui. This is Tell Me a Story, and we aim to highlight difference makers, path breakers, people doing things and living in ways that are inspiring. And today I'm sure you'll be very inspired. Today I have Iman Boundaoui with me, a Chicagoland native. We met some years ago, and you had a different guise then. You were every bit the attorney, not simply by profession, but even in social archetype. You know, you seemed like an attorney. When you introduced yourself as an attorney, I remember thinking, she seems like an attorney. You know, and I mean that admiringly, not like some people hear attorney and they're, you know, but things have changed somewhat. There's been a pivot in terms of your interests, your trajectory, your activity. You've recently started pursuing and teaching the healing arts. Would you start by telling me a story that maybe encapsulates your pivot, or where you are now, or just this nascent or formerly nascent interest in this new direction?
I've been thinking about what story I might tell, and I still feel myself, feeling for what captures, I guess, where I am now, or the pivot or the change. But when I was thinking about it, a particular story came to mind, and maybe this doesn't give all the things, but there really is something there for me. I remember when I was a little girl, I was probably 6 or 7 years old. I had this desire to hide. There was something in me that always found corners, looked for corners, searched for the space in the room that was like the little, in Algerian dialect we would say chukhna, just like where you can just
Egyptian zawiya.
Yes.
The corner.
The corner.
Yeah.
And one night I found this crack between where my bed ended and where the wall started. Like the bed wasn't pushed. I was in a double bunk bed. My older sister slept on the top bunk, and I was on the lower bunk, which was bigger than a twin, like a full size.
Full size, yeah.
And the bunk bed wasn't pushed all the way to the wall. So there was a crack in between the mattress, the bed, and the wall. And I found it very appealing. I found the crack very appealing. So one night, I take my blanket and I kind of make it like a hammock. Like I've got some slack on the left, some slack on the right, and I get into the crack, and then I pull that the slack on the right over me, and I'm in a little cocoon.
Swaddled now.
A little cocoon, totally swaddled in this crack. My mom wakes up for Fajr, and
the dawn prayer.
Yes, the dawn prayer. And we were still little girls, so she wasn't coming to wake us up, but she just wanted to check on us for some reason. And she doesn't see me in the bed, and she was like, Bismillah, where's Iman? She looks under the bed. I'm not under the bed. She was like, this girl has disappeared. She searches the entire house. She opens every closet. And she wakes up my dad. Nacer, wake up. Iman is missing. They go outside to the backyard. My younger sister at the time had this habit once in a while of sleepwalking. And sometimes she would go to the backyard and they'd find her sleepwalking in the backyard. So like maybe she picked up the same habit. So they check the backyard. I'm not in the backyard. And they're about to call the police at this point. And my mom is like, one second. Let me check the bed one more time. Let me check under the bed.
Now, at this time, I have to ask. Were you being naughty? Could you hear the commotion?
Completely
Could you hear
not.
The anxiety? Could you hear the concern?
I was with God.
Okay, you were just in another zone.
With God in the dreamscape.
Okay.
I had no
idea that any of this was taking place.
Had no idea. This was completely aftermath that my mom tells me this whole story. My mom opens the door one more time. She checks under the bed and sees a little triangle of blanket popping out underneath the bed. She was like, what? So she crawls under the bunk bed all the way to the edge and finds me like a little hot dog, little sardine in that little slice of crack. And she wakes me up. Iman, what are you doing here? I had no explanation. I don't remember how that conversation went. But she tells me that story. And to me, when I think about that little girl finding a place to cocoon, looking for a place to have some walls around her, a container around her, to me that feels very emblematic of what produced in me a desire to search for that in this world.
That space, that embrace, that cocoon.
Yes.
Wanting to feel that reassurance.
Yes.
That comfort.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about, I think that's a beautiful story, but how does that relate to some of the work that you're doing now around somatic practice, around healing, around, there's a few words that come directly to mind when I think about your work. And of course I'm familiar because my wife, Hadiya, is one of your students. She's worked with you. So the preservation of dignity, the preservation of, or a commitment to taking on shapes, like physical shapes that serve us more effectively than what might be the default switch that we hit at times of tension or stress or anxiety. How does that relate to like seeking that that embrace, seeking that cocoon, as it were?
Yeah. So many of us have these life experiences, and we could really list almost everything here. The loss of a parent, which is something I experienced by the time I was 11 years old. So the death of a caregiver. Some any kind of childhood challenge or a trauma or fear, some kind of a loss in our lives. And these losses are not just personal, they can also come from our histories. A lot of us have grandparents that lost their lives to some form of oppression in the world. These experiences in our life leave us bereft of something at the level of our body, our skin. Most of us walk around this world compensating for a lack of safety inside of our own being and our own body because of those life experiences we've had. And until we contend with that in our bodies, we cannot fully create. We cannot fully be who we're meant to be in this world. We cannot fully share the gifts that we were given by God until and unless we contend with those parts of us that are still afraid, still lonely, still worried, still bereft and feeling a loss of something. So these bodies of ours really hold like a memory, an ancient memory of what it feels like to be safe, to be held, to be seen, to be known. And that memory comes from the life we lived before this earthly realm, when we were in the divine presence. In the divine presence, we are whole, we are complete, we are witnessed, we are fully known. There's not a single part of us that is lacking something. Then we come into this world, our spirits join these bodies, we're birthed into this world where we don't have that full experience of safety. Our mothers might have had difficulty when we were being born, for example. And slowly but surely, this world starts to leave in us a feeling that something is missing. Yeah, I'm alone, no one gets me. I'm not getting the affection or the love or the attention that I want and need. And over time, the lack of those things, the lack of that fully being held, fully being met by other human beings, that got right, that which was freely given by God in this human realm is not freely given. This world does not fully afford us the safety, the dignity, and belonging that we fully experienced in the spiritual realm. And so we start to compensate for that. We start to compensate for, okay, if I'm not going to be seen and heard, then I'm going to do something to make up for that, to compensate for that. I don't feel safe, I'm going to go ahead and compensate for that safety in some way or another. And we each take on different shapes to compensate. But eventually what that leaves us with is a lot of compensation.
I want to stop you for just a moment.
Sure.
Because when you say take on different shapes, I think for a lot of the viewers, this would sound very abstract. We're taking on different shapes. But seeing as though I actually had the pleasure of being able to sit through, one of your sessions, these are actual physical shapes.
Yeah.
Like I think it would be useful maybe to give an example of what a shape of someone who feels afraid, or someone who feels scared, or someone that feels unsafe might take on.
Yeah. And I'm watching you, and it's like you're already kind of doing. You're already doing some things with your body.
Yeah, I have a little thespian in me.
Right?
I'm semaphoring a little bit and performing and doing what I can. But I'm sure you have much more experience with this than I.
Well, I think I really appreciate you kind of just even showing us a little bit, because it really is just that. Like our shoulders will roll forward and protect if we don't feel safe. Our shoulders will roll back and puff up if we don't feel safe, and this is a way that we want to protect ourselves. The body will do and take on different contortions, contractions, right? A person who is trying to protect a sense of dignity, for example, right? It's like there's something with dignity that if that gets rubbed, if that gets touched, that body very quickly will go into a compensation to protect that dignity. That person might, right, overextend themselves, overextend their height, right, might exaggerate their length. And, you know, we might look at the shape and be like, oh yeah, that's arrogance, right? Or that's someone that's got a lot of pride. And really we would say, like, that's just the body doing what it needs to do to protect a sense of safety or dignity. A lot of people walk around this world really collapsed into themselves, protecting their hearts, sinking the heart back, pulling the shoulders forward, bringing the rib cage around, tucking themselves under their rib cage, head down, bow down, yeah? Oppression can do that to our bodies. Yeah, historical oppression can produce shapes that over time starts to look like family culture, or it starts to look like culture in general. That these adaptive ways of trying to compensate for safety, dignity, and belonging is literally something that we're doing with our eyes, with our jaw, with our heads, with our shoulders, with our hearts, with our rib cage, with the belly. Some people will grip, right? Like there's a constant sense of gripping, like waiting for the shoe, the other shoe to drop. So they lift themselves out of gravity, right? And over time, again, it starts to just look like personality. It's like, oh yeah, that's just her personality. She's just shy, right? That's just his personality. He's boisterous and whatever you want to call it.
So help me understand, what should we see as representative of balance and equilibrium? If a person isn't just boisterous, but maybe is taking on a contortion to project, a bodily image for the purpose of being protected or being respected, or a person maybe isn't just very humble and they don't naturally, and I'm using the word naturally in conscience here, they don't naturally just have this kind of shoulders touching kind of demeanor, but rather maybe this is a weight of unresolved, grief or pain or trauma that is literally weighing them down. What way of being is representative of equilibrium, of balance, of wholeness, of what should we be striving for in this regard?
I again appreciate you're already kind of modeling for us a little bit like what that looks like, because I see you kind of did this with your hands, and then you kind of did this with your hands, and it has me thinking about like a core practice that we use inside of somatics called centering. And essentially centering is about filling up into the dimensions of our being, the dimensions of our body. So we have 3 dimensions, right? We're 3-dimensional beings. We have length, we go up, we go down, and there's a dynamic tension that goes in those 2 different directions. We have width, we go side to side. We have depth, we go back to front, When we purposefully fill ourselves up in these 3 dimensions, we would say we're coming to what we might call center. Or neutral, or the kind of a sense of fullness or wholeness. You can imagine a person that is in a very collapsed state is not very balanced in their length. They're going all the way down, right? The whole soma, the energetics is a pull downward. So we would support that person, for example, to find more of their length, more of the upward dimension, right? So we would support that person to bring their chin up, to have their crown open to the sky, right? Rather than the crown going that way, the crown going up that way. So balancing ourselves top to bottom, balancing ourselves side to side. A lot of people who curl in on themselves, who are afraid, who are worried, who are anxious, they will collapse their width, they will shrink their width, they'll shrink towards the center. And as we talk about this, you might notice that there are really a lot of social dimensions to this. More women than men have a shrunk up width. More women sit this way. More women pray with their feet together. Yeah, kind of just squeezing themselves in towards the center, right? That shape is a social shape. That's a cultural shape, yeah? It's like sit with your legs closed, pull yourself in, be obedient, right? There are different messages that we get dependent on the culture that we grew up in that have women over time, for example, squeezing themselves in towards the center, yeah? And men might have the shape too. So we would support balancing, letting the soma out more, widening, yeah? It's like, what does it look like to take up your full width, to really let the shoulders come out here and come out here, to really let even the vision widen, to use more of the peripheral vision. And the same thing with depth, yeah? A lot of people are imbalanced in their depth. A lot of people are already in the future, right? It's like you feel the energetics of their body, they're already headed into the next thing, yeah? And other people are like fully like collapsed out of the future and in their back. We are always inviting balance in these dimensions. Can you find that balance between back and front? Can you inhabit the full depth of your body and your being, and be present in this moment where you can feel, am I in my length? Am I balanced top to bottom? Am I balanced side to side? Am I in my width? Am I balanced back to front?
So help me understand the promise of somatic balance. Meaning, if I am collapsed, or if I am not taking up my full width or my full depth, what does living with greater somatic balance offer me?
Yeah.
Right. What, I think that it would be good to highlight, okay, if one recognizes that they are imbalanced in one of these three dimensions, and they come to a practitioner that can help them regain balance, center, what does that transformation offer that individual?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I would always start with the question of what is that person longing for? A lot of people have unspoken longings, what they want for their life, right? I want to write a book. I want to become a teacher of this work. I want to become a student of knowledge. I want to create art, right? There's a longing in me to create something, to do something with my hands. I want to build community. I want to be a leader in my community. Whatever it is, like we all have longings, and our longings really speak to it's like, what am I here for? Like, what did God put me on this earth for? What are my gifts? How do I express that fully? Most of us, our contractions, our shaping gets in the way of those gifts being fully expressed. Yeah? That collapse, yeah? That way of overextending ourselves in the world, whatever our contortion, our automatic contraction, our automatic shaping is, it is often what is in the way of us living out our purpose and our gifts fully. So you will ask people, right? Their whole life, they have the same longing. Oh, I wish I could become this. I really want to create art. And you'll hear people kind of in that same loop over and over. You talk to them 5 years later. What's up? How are you? I'm okay. But I'm stuck in that job and I'm not really doing the thing that I want. And you talk to them 5 years later and it's the same thing. And you talk to them 15 years later and it's the same thing. We can get caught in these loops of basically life repeating itself, the same patterns repeating themselves. And that's because the same pattern here is repeating itself. If we keep moving and in the same shape over and over and over again, life will produce the same results over and over and over again. The same fights will keep happening, the same relational conflicts will keep happening, the same getting into a job with a narcissistic boss will keep happening. The same loops will repeat because this ultimately is the loop, the most important one that is happening.
It's interesting. I think a lot of people recognize a need for change in their lives.
Yeah.
But when they think about how to approach change or transformation, they usually end up in some neuro-linguistic schema. It's here and it's here.
Yes.
And, they cite evidence that, your thoughts become your speech, and your speech becomes your habits, and your habits become your life. This seems like not something that opposes that discourse, but definitely adds to it.
Yes.
It's not just about, okay, I want to change my life. It's not just about changing my thinking. It's not just about changing my speech, but it's also about, working on a somatic level. Maybe it's changing my posture. Maybe it's changing, I was thinking about your work in preparation for the interview. And of course, my background is in Islamic studies. And I was thinking, where do we see this somatic resonance in the Islamic tradition? And it's there, but a lot of it is focused on the face, right? How the face contorts. A lot of emphasis is placed on the face of the Prophet ﷺ. His face is open.
Yes.
Right? They said his face was inviting. His face looked like, if you need something, I can help you.
Yeah.
Right? If you looked at him, he would be smiling. His face was incandescent. His face was illumined. His face was lit up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of focus on his posture, his manner of standing, that he stood up very straight, but his eyes were low. Kind of, this is how he expressed his humility. Not that his shape was collapsed.
Right.
His eyes were looking down, as if to say, there's no difference between me and any other person. Not, looking up. So when I think about, bringing this teaching to the forefront of how we understand change and transformation, I think there's amazing connection and overlap and synergy between this practice and traditional Islamic studies and traditional Islamic practice.
Absolutely. We talked about this the other day. That there in the Shama'il, there's a hadith, there's a narration that talks about how the Prophet ﷺ, when he spoke with a person, he fully turned and faced all the way towards that person.
إذا التفت معا. He faces you. He faces you with his complete self.
And this is a practice we literally have inside of our somatics tradition called turn and face. When we are under pressure, right? When we are facing a difficult moment with, especially relationally with another human being, what it produces to fully turn and face a person is that our hearts are now sharing an electromagnetic field. My heart is not facing in a different direction than yours. We're actually aligning the hearts. We're aligning the belly, which is in Eastern medicine and Chinese medicine, the dantian, which is the home of our vitality, our qi, our ki, our life force energy. When that happens, we can have more compassion and curiosity, right? Exactly. It really produces to me, I'm always kind of noticing, like, am I face to face with a person? Am I center to center with a person? What that produces in us is a deeper sense of compassion and curiosity with another human being. It's really easy to cut off compassion when we're not looking at the person. Really easy to, this was a thing I noticed in myself, that I would always have like arguments or just difficult conversations in the car. It was so safe for me to do it in the car because I didn't have to look at you. And right now it's like we're in a British car, like I'm driving on the right side.
Sure, right.
But it means I didn't have to look at you, right? I didn't have to look at that person, and I could, whether it was my mom or my partner at the time, or there was something that in the car, all of a sudden, I could block you off, and I could just stay angry at you, and I could.
The thing is, when I'm angry with someone, I don't want to look at them.
That's right.
Even if I pass them, because there's something about facing a person that opens you to mercy. Yes. Opens you to mutual understanding.
Yes.
Like maybe if you can see the lineaments of their face, You see the pain. You
Yeah.
see the frustration. As long as you're not looking at them, you can imagine
They're a villain.
they're a villain. They're angry. I'm angry, and that's what it is.
And I get to stay with my righteous anger.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know? But if you see somebody, you have to look at them. It opens this window of like, this is a person that is deeply frustrated, like I'm deeply frustrated.
Right.
And a person that wants mercy, like I know I need mercy.
Right.
And then, the hearts begin to work on each other.
Right. Right. It's impossible not to look at another human being fully and not see the child in them. We have the same eyeballs that we had when we were babies. Our eyeballs don't grow. Our eyeballs don't change. It's one of those organs that we have that don't change at all. And it's like when you really look at a person and look into their eyes, you can see that. You can sense the child that still lives inside of them. How can we not have mercy for each other? How could we not have compassion for each other when we turn and face each other in that way, from that lens? Yeah. So turn and face, and that's a practice, right? And this kind of comes back to just what you were saying earlier. It's like people are trying to change up here, and it's like, if I think a certain way, then I'll be that way. We would say, what our teachers would say inside of the Somatics tradition is, we are what we practice. And what we practice becomes what people remember us for. We are what we practice, and you're never not practicing something. You are always practicing something. The question is what you're practicing aligned with what you care about? You're either practicing a default way of being, I'm not even gonna look at you, or you are practicing something intentional that is aligned with who you want to be and what you care about. And then you can catch that default. You can catch yourself in that moment and go, oh yeah, that's just my default. That's my default to feel more safe. It's safer to not look. Yeah. It feels more dignifying for me to not look. And then it's like, but is that aligned with who I want to be? Is that aligned? Is that how I want to be remembered? Yeah. And then we go, okay, how do I practice something new? And you're not going to practice something new in your head. It's not a theory. It's not theoretical. You're gonna turn and face and go, ooh, this is uncomfortable. Those first 5 rounds of that practice are going to be highly uncomfortable. And that is how you know you're changing, right? Just like you're in the gym, they say when you start to feel that tenderness, that muscle kind of tearing, that is where change is happening. And that's the same thing in our bodies. If you're comfortable all the time, change is not happening. Change is not happening. And your defaults are what keep you comfortable. Our defaults it is comfortable to not look when I'm arguing. Yeah. That's a place of comfort. So the place of discomfort then we can trust is a place of change.
I like that. One of the things that I, began to reflect on as you were speaking is just the fact that the Islamic tradition is replete with examples of how the Prophet's posture, his body, given, I guess I would use a fancy word here, the logocentric kind of nature of the Western canon and tradition, always focused on words.
Yes.
It would have been enough for them just to say, these are the ta'aleem of Muhammad, the teachings of Muhammad. And we just look at them, but they say the sunnah, because it includes words, it includes actions, it includes posture, it includes that bodily, that lived, that embodied prophetic example, not just his teachings. My teacher, Dr. Sherman Jackson, he would always say, the reason we don't say the ta'aleem or the teachings of Muhammad is they don't just speak to this.
That's right.
We say the sunnah.
That's right.
Because it can speak to this.
That's right.
Something that you might not be convinced of here, you do because it is his example.
Yes.
And you think, if I model this, even if I'm not convinced that this is the way that I should be with my children, or with my wife, or with my neighbor, or with my colleague, but I just do it because he did it, change will occur.
Yes.
Right? So he would always call this, we have to get beyond a post-enlightenment cult of genius, where we think it's all happening here. And this is something distinctly Western European.
Yes.
It's all happening here.
I think, therefore I am.
Yeah, it's all right. Descartes, right? It's all happening here. No, it's
Yes.
It's happening here.
Yes.
It's happening everywhere.
Yes.
Right?
And the Quran is also replete with this. Like when I think about the verses around extending mercy to our parents, وَخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحًا مِنَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ, wings of mercy. Why? Like, what is the point of that imagery? Is that when you are merciful towards another being, it's like when a bird protects its, right, those wings of mercy. There's an embodiment of that. It's embodied. Mercy is embodied. It's not an idea. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Bismillahir Rahim, إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you that we,
those who see the signs in the heavens and the earth,
yes,
and they remember God sitting, standing,
and lying on their sides. We contemplate with the whole being. We don't just contemplate God as a form of thought. We contemplate in these different postures that the whole body, the whole being is part of this thing called life and living. We're not living neck up. It's top to bottom, head to toe. We would say inside of somatics, really the body is the self. That while we're here on earth, while we are embodied spirits, we cannot distinguish the body and the self. We cannot fully distinguish. This is not just a thing that I'm pulling around, feeding, putting to sleep. That myself is emanating from every pore of me. It's how I sit, it's how I speak, it's how I engage. How another person experiences me is not just the words I say. What are they experiencing through the soma, through the whole body, through the whole being?
Even the fact that the prayer involves the entire soma, right? You could say, just sit down and think about God. Which for some people, that is kind of prayer. Just sit and just think about God.
Right.
But no. Use the body.
Yes.
Stand, bow,
yes,
prostrate.
Yes.
Feel the ground on your forehead.
Yes.
Feel your body sitting. Right. Turn your head. It's a fully embodied practice.
Yes.
Isn't it?
It is. It is head to toe. We are praying with the whole body. The whole body is the prayer. And people will still kind of do the head thing. Allahu Akbar, right? Sure. It's just like kind of mechanically pulling the body through the motions. But there are secrets to these postures. I personally am convinced that some of the ancient forms of prayer showed up in Qigong, for example. Because if you look at Qigong, postures in Qigong and postures in yoga, yogic postures, we are looking at the same postures inside of prayer. Yeah. In yoga, the standing posture is called the mountain pose. Yeah. You're standing like you're firm, you're grounded, you're earthy, there's such dignity to that posture. You're not just passively standing. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in this form on purpose, standing on two legs, upright. That uprightness and the uprightness of that posture, there is a secret in that. If we can fully embody the dignity of that posture, and then we bow, you will find that same posture in yoga. You will find that posture in Qigong. And I think what I'm getting at here is we have an understanding that all of the traditions had prophets. Prophets came to every culture. Prophets came to in every tongue. Absolutely. Yeah. And those old forms of prayer may have been lost, but we have it preserved in our tradition. Yeah. When I practice Qigong and when I practice yoga, I really feel this must have been an old ancient form of prayer that was passed to a prophet in those ancient times. Many people predict that the Buddha, for example, might have been a prophet. So when I'm in this current form of the prayer that came through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as a mandate, to me, I'm like, oh, these postures mean something. There's a secret in the bowing and the rising again. There's a secret in the prostration. And when you look at the energetics and the somatics of these postures, it's magnificent what's happening in each posture. When we bow our forehead to the ground, we are pressing on what in the yogic tradition you call the third eye. What that does is stimulates the pineal gland, which is a gland in the body that has incredible potential for entering us into higher states of consciousness. So for long-time meditators, for example, one of the benefits of meditation is that it opens the pineal gland, which releases oxytocin, which releases serotonin, which releases all of these feel-good hormones. But really what it's doing is slowing the brain waves down and getting you out of that beta brainwave mode, which is like, I gotta get things done.
You know what's interesting about that is that a neurologist told me the same thing.
That's right.
Right, he told me the same thing. I was talking with Dr. Jawad Shah, and he's talking about what's happening even in the brain.
Yes.
When you press the forehead on the ground. And he said it's almost musical. If I showed you, a diagram of what's happening, the circuitry of the brain when you're pressing your forehead on the ground, it's almost musical.
Yeah.
So there are deep meanings.
Absolutely.
In these postures.
Absolutely. In the Zen Buddhist tradition, the posture that we take in prayer after we make sujood and then we're in between and when we're making our tahiyyat, the Zen Buddhist tradition, that is the posture of meditation. You fold your legs underneath and there's a particular squeezing of these thigh and leg muscles that happens that when you rise again, all of this fresh blood pumps up towards your brain and you get this fresh circulation of blood to your brain by squeezing and contracting the legs for some time. So you look at other traditions and you will find every single one of our postures and our prayer posture in these other traditions. And you will find the secrets and the miracles of it. And neuroscience is now beginning to understand some of the secrets and the miracles of yoga, of meditation. We have all of it. We have yoga in our tradition. We're basically doing it 5 times a day.
One thing that I thought was really, really interesting, we had a session on Tuesday, and at one point my eldest daughter and I had to sit, back to back. And you instructed us to take on, individually of course, to take on a posture that you might when feeling tension or stress. And she took on that posture. Now take on a posture you might take on at relief or the alleviation of that tension. And she took on a different posture, and I did the same. But one of the questions that I thought was really illuminating was, what does your posture do to the other person?
Yeah.
Right, as they contract or as they become, this idea of sitting back to back kind of showed our, not interdependence, that might be too sharp a point for the term that I have in mind, but we are interconnected beings.
Yes.
That as your posture changes, my posture changes.
Absolutely.
My posture changes, your posture changes. Maybe you can speak a little bit about that.
Yes. We are social creatures. Yeah, we're social animals. We are created to track each other, track for each other. Yeah, a small baby only fully understands the world based on that adult that's looking at them, right? And very quickly, babies will start mirroring what you're doing. Yeah, so you frown, the baby will frown. You smile, the baby will smile. You can produce, we are producing something in each other all the time. So, when you were talking earlier about the countenance of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had an open face that produced in other people an experience of, this person will help me. We're constantly impacting each other with our shapes. We can't not. We were built and designed in that way. We're built to track safety by going, oh, is mama okay? If mama's okay, then I'm right.
Yeah.
Our nervous systems entrain towards each other. So this concept of entrainment, that we will entrain to each other's nervous systems. Yeah. So as adults, if we walk into a room and we are firing, we are firing off signals in the room of nervousness, anxiety. And we are the strongest soma in the room, like the mother or the father. All those kids in the room will entrain towards that nervous system. They won't, even the dog, right? We were talking the other day about animals, about dogs, yeah? Oh no, I was talking to somebody else about animals, about dogs. Most dogs have the nervous system of their owner. They don't actually have their own nervous system.
You know, it's funny, I remember, I heard the story. I don't even know what the import of this story, I don't know what the moral of the story, I do know the moral, but I don't know the context of the story. And there was these two sheikhs, these two religious teachers. They were traveling and they needed a place to go. They needed a place to stay. And they said that they walked past one village and they saw two dogs fighting for food. And the sheikh said, no, let's keep walking, because if the dogs are fighting for food, it's because their owners are stingy.
That's right.
If the dogs are fighting for food,
that's right.
Their owners are like that.
That's
Let's
right.
go somewhere else. And then he said they walked to another village and each dog was just sitting down eating his food, you know, the stray dogs, just eating whatever they could find. He said, this is the right village to ask for help. Because if the dogs are like that,
that's right.
that means they're like that.
They're
comfortable and easy.
That's
and
right.
not really worried about, you know, provision and stuff like that. So I thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, that's right. We just are, that's our nature. We're social animals like that. We entrain to each other. We will mimic each other. We produce experiences in each other, even if it's like, no, you know, I'm in a particular mood. If I'm around people who care about me, who love me, that mood will impact those people. Yeah, we're affecting each other in that way all the time.
You know, one person said, "There's no such thing as a marriage in which one person is happy." Right?
Literally.
If he's upset, she's upset. She's upset, he's upset.
That's right.
We're impacting each other in that way.
Yes.
You know, also reminded me just the miraculous ability we have to discern things about faces.
Yeah.
You know, I was visiting the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ. And I mean, you literally see people from all over the world. And it's amazing. This place that would otherwise be insignificant in the middle of the desert. And there are people from all over the world. Every skin tone you can imagine, every set of facial features you can imagine, from everywhere, right? And I was walking with Dr. Sherman Jackson, and he looked at me and he said, isn't it amazing how if you look at what constitutes a face, 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, forehead, cheeks, we all have the same thing.
Yeah.
We all have the same thing. But nobody looks the same. He said, everyone looks different. And if you really look in terms of like the degrees of difference between this nose and that nose, this eye and that eye, this brow and that brow, it's really not a significant difference. Is that we have the ability to see the smallest changes in faces because God has given us that kind of attentiveness to each other.
Yes.
That I know the difference between this face and this face and this face. And he said, you can do that with 1 billion faces.
Yes.
He said, that's amazing.
Yes. It really is. So
I get to hang out with him, you know, so I get to hang out with some amazing people. You know
right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But human beings are attentive to each other, you know, in that, in that way.
Yes. And in that sense, you know, the body doesn't lie. The body can't lie. It's always telling the story of what is. We can tell a lie with words. Someone asks you, how are you? I'm good. And they got all the information they needed without you speaking those words. But often, because of our the way that we've been socialized, the way that we have been acculturated to present ourselves in a particular way, we are not often aligning what's happening here and what's coming out here. Yeah, that even though the body doesn't lie, and we all can read each other's body language like that. Yeah, 70% communication is happening at the level of the body. Even though we know that, there's a dissonance that lives in a lot of us, where we walk around telling a story over here and the body is telling a whole other story. Yeah? How are you? I'm okay. I'm good. No, everything's fine. Yeah? You can hear it in the tonality of the voice. You can hear and feel the dissonance. And so much of what we're trying to get to inside of somatics is resonance. Can you play good music? And what good music sounds like, yeah, somatically speaking, is like what's happening here
and what I'm
saying.
Good music.
That's right. What's happening here and what I'm speaking match. Yeah, they're not going in different directions. And the more that we get to that level of resonance, when people ask us what's happening or how are we, you know what, I'm having a really hard day. That produces self-trust, and it produces trust in the other person. That is the definition of health and wellness, is that resonance. There was a really interesting 19th century doctor called Dr. Edward Bach that defined health and wellness as the inside and the outside matching each other.
That's what the word integrity actually means.
Yeah.
I always teach people that integrity comes from the word integer. And integer is what? A whole number.
Wow.
Integrity only means wholeness.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And really disease, dis-ease, we produce disease in our bodies. We produce dis-ease in our bodies when there's a story here, but we're telling a different story out of our mouth. Yeah. Because we're afraid to be vulnerable. We're afraid to reveal ourselves. We're afraid the other person won't understand. Like, we carry all of these social fears. So we're often in this state of dissonance. We're often in this state of bad music playing, where it's like the person can see one thing and then we're speaking this whole other thing out of the corner of our mouth. And what we attempt to get to is like, can I really feel what's happening inside my body? Can I notice that I'm in a state of agitation? Can I notice that I'm in a state of sadness? Can I notice my worry? Can I notice my fear inside of my own skin? Live in that, be in that, reside in that reality and not resist the reality. Because part of the reason we lie is we're resisting what is. We don't want to admit that we're afraid. We don't want to admit.
A person only lies because they don't want to face the truth.
And we're doing it all the time in small ways, yeah? But those small ways add up. They add up to a life where we're never fully revealing ourselves in the world. They add up to a life where the only time we fully feel comfortable is when the lights are completely out and no one is around. We don't want that life for ourselves. That is what produces in us the incapacity to be in our full gifts in the world. It's like we don't actually ever feel comfortable inside our own skin. We never feel fully at home.
You have to be courageous. You have to be brave.
Yeah.
You know, it's always telling that when you read the old books, you know, Islamic, you know, spiritual doctors treating spiritual illnesses, they always list honesty alongside courage, right? Because truth is always motivated by, lies are motivated by fear, right? And if you want to face that reality, you have to be courageous.
Yes.
You have to be a person that is willing to look at it for what it is,
yes,
and address it.
Yes.
You know, just a real quick story that came to mind. There was a beautiful story of Abu Hurairah, may God be pleased with him, and the Prophet ﷺ, peace be upon him. And Abu Hurairah said that he was in a state of what's called janaba, like a major ritual impurity. He wasn't in a state where he could pray. and he needed to take a full purificatory bath. And he said that as he was walking, he saw the Prophet, peace be upon him. And he said he started feeling guilty about his state, like, I probably should hide. So he said that every time he would see him, he would like hide, like, I don't want him to see me like this, because maybe he'll invite me to pray. He had some anxiety about this. And the Prophet noticed him and just thought it was strange, but he didn't say anything. He said, "It's strange." I wonder why he's hiding. Later on, when they encountered each other, he said, why did you hide from me? He said, well, I wasn't in my best, I was kind of impure at that time. And he said, Abu Hurairah, the believer is always pure. Like face yourself fully. The believer is always pure.
Yeah.
Right? That's not what we mean by ritual impurity, that there's some deep defect because you're in a state where you need to take, a bath. That's just, a state of, being able to worship in certain ways or not. But the believer is always pure. Right? Face yourself.
Subhanallah.
This is important. This is important. So what, as we wrap up, tell me what's on the horizon? What's inspiring you? What ideas, what trends are alarming? What ideas or trends are promising? Just as you think through your practice, your community, where are you moving? What are you feeling right now? I saw you performing a kata at the lake, and the last thing you said was, in this phase of the healing of my people. Right? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, it's interesting. The story that you just shared about Abu Hurairah actually kind of ignited something in me. It made me think about how many young people in our communities hide out of shame. How many young people are suffering in our communities with addiction, with shame around the sins that they have committed, right? However we want to define that we in our communities have produced such fear, a fear-based way of living, right? Following the tenets of Islam out of fear. You don't want to disappoint your parents. You don't want to put your parents in a state where they would be ashamed of you. That has produced a generation of young people that are walking around in this world with a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of fear. And because of that, a lot of contraction, a lot of dissonance, a lot of contortion, and disharmony in their lives. And I think when I think about this work and the potential for this work in our communities, I really think about supporting the young people in our communities to come to that reckoning with themselves, to turn and face themselves, to recognize that they are not defective, that they are not impure, that whatever your life history is, whatever you've done, whatever disappointments, whatever the story, that we can rectify all situations, that God is merciful, and that we have a right to live in a state of wholeness and resonance, that is our fitrah, that is our original state of being, and supporting young people in our communities. And I include people in their 30s and 40s, right? Walking around like everything's okay, but inside there's a disharmony, there's a disharmonious state that keeps producing the same cycles of violence, I would say. The potential, that's really the potential of this work. And I think that's what I see for our communities. Like, how do we come back to the body as a fundamental place where we can recognize that this is me, this is who I am, how I be in this world, how I move in this world, how I hold myself in this world, that is the self, that is who I am, the embodied spirit. Coming back to that as the place of change, the body as the domain of change, the body as a domain of transformation, to come out of this these pathological states of thinking our way through life, analyzing our way through life. It really is a pathology. Overthinking, stuck in mind, stuck in thoughts, stuck in theory, good ideas, and neck down, we don't even know what we're doing or producing in this world. We don't know what we're doing to each other. Yeah, that if we can come down below the neck and start to live inside of our own skins, that people can find God again. That young people in our community that have left the deen, left Islam, left God because of shame, because of fear, can return to a primordial knowing of God's mercy.
You make a very, very good point. I mean, I just was so inspired by this idea that in the modern condition, people have rejected God.
Yes.
But only here.
Yes.
God is being rejected here.
Yes.
Right? Maybe because an experience of God that resides just in the mind is itself inadequate and incomplete.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Perhaps it's easy to reject here, but as a fully embodied being in the world, maybe that belief feels more natural and the word I'm looking for, I guess, is innate.
Absolutely.
It's a natural and innate kind of part of who I am as a fully embodied being. But if the mind is now isolated and this is all there is, and everything else is insignificant or not acknowledged, then perhaps, oh God, I mean, it's
so easy to reject God up here.
Up here, sure.
It's so easy.
Sure. You know, I remember there's one historian who said, I think atheism, for instance, is logically compelling.
Yeah.
And that was his opinion. I'm not sure it's compelling, but he said, I think it is compelling. He said, but most people won't be atheists because it does not give them modalities with which they can live. In other words, as just somebody thinking, maybe this will appeal to you. But as someone living, experiencing the world, you're gonna need more than that. Right? Or I like the way that Professor Cornel West put it, let the phone be smart. You better be something more than that. Let the phone be smart.
That's right.
Right? A computer can collate and collect data.
Yeah.
But you better be something more than that.
Right.
Right? Genuine intelligence, artificial intelligence.
Right.
Right? They're not the same thing because genuine intelligence includes more.
Yes.
Right?
The wisdom of the body.
The wisdom of the body. The wisdom of the heart.
Yes.
Emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Etc. Now, this has been a tremendously thought-provoking conversation, and you've left me with a great deal to consider. I just want to offer you the final word.
I think for me, it's the breath. The breath is the final word. It's the first word and the final word. It's the first way we come into this world, and it's the last way we leave this world. And if we abandon it in between, we've abandoned the whole thing.
Allahu Akbar. Wa khitamuhu misk. I think that's a good place to end. MashaAllah. Thank you.